The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to an NFC Champion edition of the Phixated podcast. I am your host, Mike Gasolina, and I'm joined by fellow NFC champion Regz. We're starting to get pretty good at this whole championship thing.
Let's go, man. It's like I literally looked at my 8-year-old son and said, "Do you realize what's happening right now?" Of course he doesn't. But he's like running off, during the last 2 minutes and playing his video games, and I'm like, Cole, can you get over here? Like, something's happening right now that doesn't happen for a lot of people. Like, we were just at a Phillies World Series game in October, and now the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. This stuff doesn't happen.
Yep.
And I think
that's a really good point.
Trying to explain that to an 8-year-old is like trying to spit into the wind. It's not going to go well. But
yeah,
I tried to hype it up to him. Like I ran him around the house on my shoulder when they won, all that stuff, so he can try and maybe make a memory here. But it's just wild, man. It's just wild.
I mean, it really is. It's really unbelievable. I mean, we are really fortunate to have the last 3 months of Philadelphia sports. I mean, the Phillies gave us a ride. I know they didn't finish the job, but what a ride it was for a team that was like buried with injuries and everything, right? And like not picked to win any of their playoff series, to run all the way to the World Series and be within 2 games of winning it. And then this Eagles team in their second year with a quarterback who's been, not always thought of in the most high of regard throughout the national media, and even just in the city. And tonight, as he stood on the podium with those MVP chants, you felt for the guy. Like, you felt for him. You think about Nick Sirianni laughed off the stage after his first press conference. Yeah, made fun of for the flower reference. Well, the Eagles haven't lost a whole lot of football games since that flower reference. I think I saw today they're like 26-6 since he made that reference or something like that.
That's pretty good.
It's just a really special time. And Regz, like this group and that Phillies group aren't going anywhere. So, we're certainly kind of set up for a sustainable, exciting time in Philly sports. Like, this is incredible, dude. We're playing in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Like, we just played in the Super Bowl 5 years ago. They've won 7 since the Cowboys have been. They've been to 7 NFC title games and 3 Super Bowls since the Cowboys last got to an NFC title game. Yeah. Like the Eagles like the standard now? Like, is that what we're talking about? Are they a blueprint for success in the NFL? I think that's what we're talking about.
I mean, I think from an offensive and defensive line standpoint, they certainly have been.
He drafts there so well, dude.
For a while. Again, I don't think their linebackers are the best. I think our secondary is certainly better. I don't think it's the best when you talk about it league-wide. And It's certainly something that's been neglected over the years for that offensive defensive line. But what they've been able to establish in that sense certainly comes down to not only who they acquire, who they draft, all those things from Howie's perspective, but like the coaches, like Stoutland on the O-line. I can't think of the defensive line coach's name. But again, just the depth that they've built and the ability that they've drawn out of players. Like, who's ever heard of Josh Sweat in their life? You know what I mean?
Pick, baby.
You know what? Like, that's what I'm talking about, though. There's not a ton of, obviously, Brandon Graham was a up there pick, Fletcher Cox,
First round.
Jordan Davis. Yep. All those guys are high-level picks, but not all those guys on that line who contribute are high-level picks. O-line the same way. They built guys into these superstars. Not just through obviously themselves, but obviously the players putting in an absolute crap ton of effort and work to get to that point. But again, as Philly people, we don't feel comfortable being the standard. We like to just sort of do our thing and then have everything work out somehow. So I don't know if I'm very comfortable being the standard for the NFL in all respects, but I'll take those two. I'll take those two areas. Let's start with that.
That's fair. I think, when we talk about, you make a really good point about the offensive line and defensive line and what he does there. Defensive line coach is Tracy Rocker, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. But when you think about their defensive line, you think about Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, who came in this year. Ndamukong Suh basically just sitting on the couch retired, and they call him, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll come try and win another ring. Like, it's cool. But, you mentioned Josh Sweat, who is a day 2 pick, and you mentioned actually day 3 pick, I believe, when he was picked. I think it changed, or I can't remember. Either way, he's day 2 or 3 pick. Fletch was a first rounder. Brandon Graham was a first rounder.
Yeah, sure.
Jordan Davis was a first rounder, but you've got a mix of guys in there. Like Milton Williams was a third rounder.
Right.
And he's taken steps forward, it feels like, every week since he's been drafted. They do have some special ability to build, but like then you think about the guy who's been the big difference maker this year, and that's Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
Like what that guy's been able to do. And then we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then you go over to the offensive line where you talk about them being the standard in terms of the trenches, which is where Howie believes in that being where you build your team. And you think about what they've done along that offensive line. Well, Jordan Mailata was a 7th round pick risk. Landon Dickerson was a 2nd round pick. Jason Kelsey was a 6th round pick. I believe Sam Molly, you have to double check me on this, I think he was a 3rd round pick. And Lane Johnson was like a top 3 pick when Chip Kelly was here. It's like the one thing Chip Kelly did well for us was to take Lane Johnson, who, by the way, like before we get into this recap, Bosa didn't do anything today.
No, he didn't. Obviously, Lane was not 100%. You could
tell he didn't look right
on those bull rushes. Like he was hurting. He was getting pushed back a little bit, but he never got home. He never got there. Just again, we've talked about it maybe for the past 3 or 4 weeks, but what that guy is doing. Because even what I just explained is so much better than all the alternatives we have for right tackle.
Right.
So, again, it's just been unbelievable what that guy is doing.
I think from a Lane, Micah Parsons tweeted it today. Like, you can't really begin to understand what it is Lane Johnson is doing right now. And said it's the reason why he's one of his favorite players in the league. He's a different, like he's not human.
No, it's unbelievable.
He retore it last week.
Yeah, I saw that.
And only had a week to get ready for this against one of the best pass rushers in the game. And it felt like one of those bull rushes. He was almost just getting depth and giving himself space.
No, that's exactly, he had to, because I think he explained it afterwards to NBC Sports Philadelphia. That he's like, I'm pretty good unless I'm getting bull rushed or I'm full sprinting. He's like, those are the 2 worst case scenarios for this. And you could see a couple times he would like literally get shoved and almost jump backwards to try and reestablish himself.
Yeah.
Because he knew he couldn't hang in there or else he was just going to fall over. Like it was going to be nothing.
And now you've got Chris Jones coming in a couple of weeks, and you wonder, will they take the risk of lining him up across from Lane, who again didn't allow a quarterback hit? Now, here's the thing. Jalen's mobility certainly helps. It showed again today. But like, I don't know. I just feel like this offensive line, and once they got themselves going, and again, I feel like I'm jumping ahead. Let's get into it, Riggs.
Yeah, we can get into the recap because again, we could jump right into that.
Yeah, I think we'll do the recap and kind of bounce off of it from there. Right. But like a 31-7 massacre. A lot of reasons why it became a massacre, but
all caused by the Eagles, though. Not like
Correct.
not random circumstances that caused this to happen.
Yes.
The
and
Eagles
I think that's
made
really important.
The Eagles made this happen.
Yeah. That is a really important part of this, because we're going to talk a lot about like what the next 2 weeks are going to sound like on national television.
I love it, by the way. If you want to know how I feel about it, I love it.
For sure. All right, let's just go ahead and get right into it. The Eagles get the ball first. You and I are texting like, oh man, here we go. Like, we don't want the ball first, like 1.5.
I feel like we went 13 weeks with winning the toss. We've lost 4 weeks in a row, I think. We've lost the toss 4 weeks in a row.
But they have blown out these last 2 weeks with receiving. So I don't know. So they march down the field. They throw 8 times on an 11-play drive and punching it with Miles Sanders. The key play to that drive being a 4th down play. And Jalen, great job rolling to his left, throwing across his body, giving his guy a shot. But my God, Devontae Smith.
Good Lord, man.
And I know on the replay, like, I get it. I know.
Who cares?
But in every other like world, that's a catch. Like the ground, it was almost like the ground causing a fumble. Like that's what caused the ball to come loose. Like he had the ball the whole way to the ground. It didn't come
loose that much. Like if you saw that Kansas City game where they took away the 1 touchdown, like that ball came out. Both of his hands were off of it. Devontae didn't have his hands off the ball. I get it that the ball moved.
Yeah.
But like Devontae had that thing the whole time.
Yeah.
It was like insane.
I mean, just now he does have insanely large, like long arms. Like it is crazy to me. His arms are like to his, like below his kneecaps. It's wild.
Yeah. It's like basketball player-esque.
This is a dude who came into the league and was talked about from the, like, he's either going to be really like your mid-tier number 2, or he's going to be that guy. And a lot of people thought he was going to be that mid-tier 2 because of his size. He was not going to be able to sustain hits. He was not going to be able to make plays over top of guys. Devontae Smith, like, does it all.
I do
not
disagree that he's clearly proven that he has all the talent in the world and has the ability to not only get open, but also make all the catches required to be an NFL receiver. Do I think there's a difference between like him, and this is an absurd comparison, but let's just say like a Calvin Johnson in the day? Like Calvin Johnson is a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
Like when he walks in the room.
Yeah.
I think Devontae's ceiling is like a low end number 1, because I think ultimately his size does not allow him to be a number 1, but he is the apex predator of the number 2 receivers. Like he is the guy who, if you can line him up across a true number 1 like we have, it's impossible because he's that good. Like he is in himself a probably low tier number 1, but if you're using him as a number 2, like that's the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes them scary as hell because both of those guys just continue to get open and make plays.
Yeah, so they end up punching it in. I think it was like 2 plays later.
Yep.
And jumping out to a 7-0 lead. Then the Niners get the ball, and this is where everything kind of turned on its head. They get a first down, and then they get into I don't remember if it was a 2nd and long or a 3rd and long where Purdy dropped back to pass. And Son Reddick shot out of a cannon, as he always is.
Yep.
Comes and hits him on what looks to be like the forearm as he's throwing. It's called incomplete on the field and then overturned. But then we see him getting worked on the sideline. Eagles go a quick 3 and out. Really weird Shane Steichen play call.
Terrible. Like
situation.
Awful.
He had a few of those today. But some of me does want to credit the Niners defense a little bit. I think
it's a combination of both. I don't think it was too far one way or the other.
Right.
It was bad play calls combined with the 49ers absolutely sniffing it out and just being so good that they were just like, yeah, those plays like don't work, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you're not playing some terrible defense where you might get away with it. Like if you run those plays, we will give you negative yards.
Right. So the Eagles punt, and Then Josh Johnson, 13-year veteran, comes in.
Poor guy.
Whatever he is. He's not 13 years. He's played for 13 teams, but he's been around for a long time. And basically, like right away, again, Son Reddick shot out of a cannon. Jeez. Rips the ball out of his hands, but he was down. But, they end up having to punt. And then it just goes into a punt fest through the rest of the first quarter. And pretty much throughout a bulk of the second quarter until this is where Christian McCaffrey and the play calling sort of from Shanahan kind of like started to make me worried a little bit.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
They went screen, QB or running back option where he decided which way he was going to go on the pass, and he got lined up with White, and it's not a fair matchup for White. He actually did trip him up, which is super impressive.
I mean, luckily he had to bobble the ball. I think that slowed him down a little bit. If he catches that clean, like
it was behind him a little bit.
Yeah. If that ball's out in front of him, I think McCaffrey's like gone.
Yeah, and it ended up, like 2 plays later, he ended up getting in on what was probably the worst tackling that we have seen from the Eagles since like week 1 or 2.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, they've improved as the year's gone on, but holy moly, that was bad. It was really bad, and I started to get a little worried, and I just trying to like settle in a little bit, and be okay with, look, they're going to be fine. They're going to figure it out. Yeah. It's still Josh Johnson, and he's had short fields. So when he has to go the length, I don't anticipate him being able to go the length.
Yeah.
So the Eagles, this is where the Eagles get the ball back. And man, they come back with some sort of vengeance, Regz. Like they come out with almost a 7-minute drive.
Yeah.
And we talked at halftime, and I said this to you at halftime that, people are talking a little bit about the penalties, and the Eagles are kind of lucking out with penalties. Well, no, like they were all actually penalties.
Yeah, right.
And they were a result of the secondary not being able to cover the Eagle weapons.
They were trying to stop them.
They could not stop them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. There's luck where you get a call that you shouldn't get. And those happen from time to time. They absolutely do. The Eagles tend to be on the other side of those more so than not.
Yeah.
But these were all calls that they went to the booth, and, Mike Pereira was like, yeah, that's the correct call. That's the correct call. And the Eagles make them, end up again, Miles with his second touchdown. And, I had just gotten done criticizing him. I thought he was being like really hesitant, hitting holes. He was just trying to turn everything outside, and he exploded on that play. I mean, exploded to the end zone, which was nice to see. And at that point, Regz, you got to think like, all right, Shanahan's got his 4th string quarterback in the game. He's absolutely going to just sit on this football. Mm-hmm. Isn't that what's going through your head?
So I wasn't sure what he was going to do, if I'm honest. I think Olsen even brought this up in the broadcast. He kind of wanted to see what Shanahan was going to call in that first play. And that was going to determine what he was going to do for that drive. And when they came out and they got like a, 12, 13 yard completion or something like that. Mm. And then after that, even Olsen commented, I didn't think he was great all game, but he made a good point here that he's like, now that Shanahan saw something happen, he's going to go for it. And is that the right idea? I mean, I don't know. You got your 4th string quarterback in a game like on the road where you're not down by that much yet. Is it the right call? I mean, I'm happy he did because it literally turned the game. It changed the entire game. So I'm glad that he did. In hindsight, was it the right call? Obviously not. But at that point, I guess maybe you got a little confidence. You saw something happen and you got some confidence, and he just decided like, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. Because they still had all 3 timeouts at that point as well.
Yeah. So I think I'd have to look back to see if I texted you this or not, but I know I texted a couple of people like, if he's smart, he's going to sit on it and be happy going down 14-7.
Yeah.
in the half. Like, I don't know, man. Shanahan all week, right? Like, guy's a finalist for Coach of the Year. They don't need a quarterback. Their defense is so good. Shanahan can scheme up anything. Guy didn't throw a challenge flag when he clearly should have. I know he didn't get the replay, but if you see a team running that quickly to the line and the receiver doing
the receiver
this, which
going
is the
like,
signal,
go, right.
Like, if he's doing the signal, clearly you need to throw the flag.
Right.
And then, like, I'll tell you this. If we only went into half up 14-7, I'm nervous.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Especially after McCaffrey just has that drive.
Like, I'm nervous.
Yeah. Where it's like, oh, yeah, all these other guys can beat us. So really, the quarterback doesn't have to be that good.
Yeah.
He just has to get it in the hands of these guys in different areas. And they can do, like, again, Debo, I think on that play, was it that play before half that he got tripped up by like a shoelace?
Yeah.
Or else he was gone.
Yeah, he was off. I'm
with you. I was scared to death.
I think at that point, and I know it was an unforced turnover, but it's your fourth string quarterback who you're risking getting hit and fumbling or throwing a pick because the defensive line was giving them fits.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought they'd give it to McCaffrey, see what he did, and then if he doesn't get anything or doesn't get a first down, they sit on it. And I understand, like, he threw I get it. Like, the first pass happened, good, great, grand. But, like, I was shocked. I was so shocked that he went and did what he did.
Yeah. I think ultimately, if you asked him, it's probably his biggest regret of the entire game.
Yeah, that or the not throwing the challenge flag, because then it's a turnover on downs.
Right.
The other was it this part of the game? I can't remember if it was here or later. The face mask. Was it? I think it was here. I think it was right before half. The face mask on the sideline, the Boston Scott that went half the distance.
Yep.
Because it was the next play. They went half the distance. And on the play after that, Regz, listen.
The
Kobe
instant
moment.
it happened, you texted me.
The Kobe moment. Jalen saw something, went to the line, told them no to go easy, and said Mamba. And I was like, he called Mamba.
Yep.
And then touchdown.
And then sure
I texted Regz immediately.
Yep.
And I said, there was our Kobe moment.
Just
there
wild.
was the Kobe moment. Crazy. So 21-7 going into half, and then, coming out, Tampa couldn't really do much of anything.
Did you say Tampa?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I did. Wow. You know why? Because Josh Johnson used to play for Tampa, and for some reason that sticks in my head.
It was an existential moment right there.
It was. San Francisco couldn't do much anything after that.
No, I think the entire game changed in those 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Where we go on that really long sustained drive. We score a touchdown. They come back. McCaffrey has his drive. We don't do great. And then they come back with a minute and a half, and like, again, we're only up a touchdown at that point.
Right.
This game isn't looking fantastic for us. I think Jalen's a little bit off. His throws are like he's Donovan McNabbing a lot of throws, like just chucking it into the ground. But guys are making
extra week is going to be
guys
great.
are making plays.
The extra week's going to be great.
And then the turnover happens, and you're like, oh my God, if they can get a score here, it changed everything. It changed my entire outlook on the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. It again, my moment that changed the entire game was this.
Well, and then, coming out of half, Johnson's head hits the ground, and
I'm sorry, we'll see you later.
And then that's the end of that. Because then it was Brock Purdy can't throw, and Regz. I think you could argue that the game changed in a lot of points. The Devontae catch, the Purdy injury, the Johnson injury. Like, there's a lot of the fumble, like all these things. Like, clearly it just wasn't meant to be for San Francisco. No matter how you look at it just wasn't meant to be.
So yeah, it just, I get it. They're coming in, riding a great story in Brock Purdy, who again was playing well. We're not taking anything away from Brock Purdy and how he's played over the past several weeks. But I think similarly, these two teams had not played a defense as good as each other the entire season. And we showed that we had the ability to create pressure, which not only caused turnovers, unfortunately it caused injuries. Again, not anyone's intention, but it wasn't freak accidents. It was because our defensive line was creating that pressure. And then again, I don't think anyone's doing much with a 4-string quarterback and a guy who literally cannot throw the football. Like, Brock Purdy had to come in and they just handed it off the entire time. I think he tried to throw twice, and one was a very simple check down, and the other was a screen. It's like he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to know what that injury was.
Yeah. And then
interested to know.
When you know that he can't throw the ball, it makes defense a lot easier. They allowed nothing to get around them. They set every edge. And at that point, it's like our offensive line had imposed its will enough on their defense that it's that slow churn that this offensive line continues to be so good at.
Yeah.
And
then the Jalen sneak.
Yeah. And it's just
real quick hat tip to playoff Kenny.
Oh man, that guy's been a monster.
Playoff Kenny.
Huge catch and run on that 1 3rd down where he catches it at his strings and goes another 5 or 6 yards. That was a huge play, like in our own zone, in our own side of the field to get a first down there. Just looked really explosive. Yeah. Just hitting holes like with his feet on fire. 76
all-purpose yards today.
Yeah, fantastic.
On 6 touches. Like led the team in carries. Like, I'll tell you what, man. I think I might have been a year too early on my prediction.
Yeah, maybe.
A year too early.
He's certainly winning the job if Miles if Miles is gone, like
we'll keep that in my pocket for next year.
Yeah.
So they end up, and then it just becomes
the rest of the game is just
slow burn. Like, let's get out of here. We're going to the Super Bowl. It's great. It's awesome. But I'd be lying to you, Regz, if I still wasn't sitting there as the bitter Philadelphia fan. I said to somebody earlier, I think they called my dad at halftime right after I called you, and I was like, I'm going to have to sit through this week and hear how we didn't beat the great Brock Purdy, and then Josh Johnson got hurt. Like, I got a text in like the 3rd quarter from someone that said, "Oh, I guess we got to watch a 4th-string quarterback." Well, y'all were telling us we're going to lose to a 3rd-string quarterback. So what the hell's the difference?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear it. These were caused by the defensive line causing absolute chaos.
Yeah.
For the first 3 quarters of the game.
Still the number 1 defense in the league, which we put up 34 points on, 31 points.
And that's very relevant. Like, that's very relevant to the conversation. That
it's incredibly relevant.
We were told all week this is a bend but don't break defense. They're an incredible defense. They can't, you can't run on them. Well, that drive that we ate up 8 minutes of clock with, we ran the ball pretty darn well.
Yeah, it was huge.
So, again, as I haven't looked at the numbers entirely, so let's just do a quick look here. So Kenny and Miles combined for 90 yards rushing. Jalen added another 39. So what's that? 129. And then Boston Sky had 21. So 150 on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Seems pretty good to me. What did I say the other day?
There's just
168 is the most they've given up all year.
Yeah. It's
to Atlanta.
And it was just a combination of establishing that we could.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us came into this game wondering if we were even going to be able to establish a run at all.
Right.
Because this defense was so good. And I think, again, Jalen's ability to do what he does, you watch that one play where Warner was frozen in the ground on an RPO because he just had to be. He literally wasn't moving when the exchange was happening. And again, they made a good job of pointing it out on the broadcast. They're like, this is one of the greatest linebackers in the league, and he's stuck in the mud because he can't. He has to make a split second decision. He literally was frozen until Gainwell was 3 yards past him.
Yep.
He had to go try and catch up to him. That's just the ability that this offense has. It doesn't. I'm so sick of I get it. Mahomes is cooler. I get it. People think Josh Allen is cooler. They think Burrow is cooler.
Are they actually cooler than Jalen? Jalen Hurts is the coolest dude.
Cooler in a sense of on the field.
Yeah,
they're
fun,
maybe
more fun
flashier.
To watch.
Flashier was a better way to put it.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap how flashy it is. Do we win the game? Again, I don't know why there's style points aren't a thing. How cool our quarterback looks isn't a thing. We came in and we scored 31 points on the best defense in the league.
Yep. Who
was fully healthy.
I also want to quickly just talk about how classless the 49ers were.
Oh my
in the fourth
God.
quarter. It needs to be mentioned. The Greenlaw punching, the full Mike Tyson rear back punching of the football.
After the whistle.
Yeah.
And then
a little bit much.
Trent Williams, you're a bitch.
Yeah. And then as soon as you saw Ndamukong Suh, you chilled out.
You're throwing a 160-pound cornerback around. Good for you.
Just unbelievable disgrace. I felt badly for D'Amico Ryans because I know he didn't play that way.
No, that guy was not. I don't put any of that on him. No.
But it's his defense, and I felt badly for him that's because they kept panning to him every time they did something stupid.
Yeah,
and he's up for a bunch of coaching jobs, and he should get one.
And he's should be absolutely.
Coach. He was but just some classless stuff from them. Just
yeah.
Really poor.
Again, the hit out of bounds on Jalen, another thing. Be frustrated, but how about you handle yourselves the right way?
Yeah. It was a lot. It was a lot.
But good. Get out of here with your tail tucked between your legs, 49ers. We'll see you around.
For sure. So just, to go back to what we were saying before, I don't think I sent you this message. I sent you a different one. So we're going to talk to both of these tweets. I didn't send you the quarterback one, did I?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. Matt Verderame, national NFL reporter at Fansided. Okay. Stacking the Box podcast. I'll stack the box, Matt. The Eagles are great, but
of course.
Here's the full list of quarterbacks faced. And then he goes on to list them. Goff, Cousins on Monday Night Football, Wentz, Lawrence in a monsoon.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Murray, Rush, Pickett, Mills, Heineke, loss. Ryan, Rodgers, Tannehill, Jones twice. Fields, Prescott, Dalton, Webb, Purdy. And he just leaves it there. Hey, guy. Is that an Eagle problem? It's not an Eagle problem.
No, it's not.
I don't know what, and we've talked about this, Regs. I understand that they haven't played an elite quarterback. I get it. It's not their problem who they play. We were told the Giants were red hot.
Right. Daniel Jones is going to come in here and smoke us.
Figured it out. Yep. He figured it out all week. That's all we heard from national morons like Matt Verderame.
Yeah.
It's all we heard about.
Brock Purdy coming in here. Hasn't lost in 12 weeks.
Brock Purdy. Well, Brock Purdy played one drive and Hassan Reddick, broke him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. there comes a point where you just got to say, you know what? Leave it at the Eagles are great. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah. Still scored 31 points on the best defense in the league.
We don't want to talk about that.
Don't talk about that. Nope.
And here's the thing, Regs, like we understood going into the second game that whatever quarterback won that game is the best quarterback the Eagles are going to face all year.
Absolutely.
We know that.
Without a
That's why
doubt.
they're in the freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, but I also want to think back to last year. The Eagles played the Chiefs in like week 4. And it was probably Jalen Hurts' best game.
Yeah.
Last season, throwing the football. They lost, but they were in it.
Yeah.
Like, I went off track there a little bit, but it came off of another tweet that was, if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, they'll have beaten Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow to get there. If the Bengals make it, they will have beaten Tyler Huntley, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. They will face the Eagles, who beat Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy / Josh Johnson. Again.
What do you want us to do?
Who cares?
We don't live in the Matrix that like someone is pulling the strings on this.
You know what, Regs?
But again,
I can tell you right now, if the NFL is fixing the Super Bowl, they wouldn't want the Eagles there.
You know what those people, you know why those people are tweeting that? It's because I bet if you look back at their previous tweets, they're like, Daniel Jones will beat the Eagles. Brock Purdy will beat the Eagles. So they have such little like class that they can't just admit that they were wrong, that they have to put out this nonsense. It's nonsense. What are the Eagles supposed to do? Does Hassan Reddick maliciously attack Brock Purdy in the hallway before the game started?
WWE style?
Yeah. No, he did not.
Made a football play.
He made an unbelievable play and caused a turnover that started to swing the game. What would you like Hassan Reddick to do? Not go for the football because his arm is bent back? It's like, okay, yeah, I agree. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the best quarterback that we have faced all season.
Correct. He's the best quarterback that every team faces.
Yeah, flat out. That dude has crazy experience in huge games, has won it at the biggest stage, and even on a busted ankle is still unbelievable. He is. All those things are true. It's also true that I don't think the Chiefs have played a defense as good as the Eagles.
Love that point. I love that point. I'm actually going to look and see what defenses they've played.
So I don't think the Bengals defense is very good.
No, they're clearly not that good.
And they beat them by 3 points.
The offensive line isn't very good.
No,
that's for sure.
It's not. And I don't think the Chiefs defense is very good either.
Colts might be the best defense they played.
So it's like, okay, great. But listen.
Oh, they played the Niners.
Okay, fine.
They put up 44 on the Niners.
Well, there you go. There you go.
But who played that game? Hold on. Who was the quarterback for them that game? That was Purdy's first game. That was when he came in for Garoppolo.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Garoppolo put up 300 yards on the Chiefs, by the way.
But I love this. Keep giving it to me. Keep giving it to me. I want to hear all the negative things. I want to hear that the Eagles haven't faced anybody. I want to hear that this is the best quarterback they'll ever play. I want to hear all the things. Keep us in that zone. Keep us right in that zone, everybody. I love it.
I mean, so the tweet I sent you was from John Hansen, who actually works with Joe Dolan, friend of the show.
Joe had some great tweets tonight, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah, fantastic.
Good. He tweeted, no disrespect, but I think this is the easiest path to the NFC title in history.
Joe, you need to talk to your employee, pal.
I mean,
how can we get on one of Joe's podcasts and discuss with this guy? Let's get on this and let's have it out.
I don't know what, again, we're going to beat a dead horse here, but beat the Red Hot Giants, beat the number 1 defense in the league. I know what happened at quarterback, but what is it that you want? They just outscored two NFL teams 69-14 in the playoffs.
Doesn't matter. You'll be the only one to mention that stat for 2 weeks.
I'm kind of I agree with you. I do want people to continue to hate on them and not feel like they're good enough. I will tell you who will not be talking that way or thinking that way. And it'll be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, they're not. Patrick Mahomes is not that type of guy.
And neither is Andy Reid.
And neither is Travis Kelce. Like, none of those guys are that way. So you're absolutely right.
Like, it's one of these things where, we can talk all we want about who they played, who they didn't play. What the fact of the matter is, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. No team was good enough to beat them or the teams that they beat to get to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So they're in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
End of the day, I truly believe they win that game with Brock Purdy playing it, being able to throw. Like, he did not look great on the first possession of the game. He looked scared.
It's not the same score. I think they might score 2 more times.
Maybe.
But it's 31-21 maybe.
Yeah. So, let's get into Kansas City real quickly. We're going to do a couple of shows here in the coming weeks on the Super Bowl, because yes, the Eagles are in fact in the Super Bowl, despite what everybody tells you and what you read on social media.
Despite what you hear, they are actually made it,
playing in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
They're not going to hold them back because they didn't play anybody. They're actually going to let them play in it. So, a couple of cool storylines here, Regz. Andy Reid clearly being one of them.
Yeah.
And then there's the Kelce brothers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's going to be a lot of fun, man. Like,
I cannot wait for their podcast this week.
Yeah, I have to catch up this week so I can hear.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they'll do one live next week. Like from the
media row site and all that. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be really cool if they did. I don't know, man. I like when we were watching the game, I felt like the Eagles could play with both teams. Like, I understand what the quarterback situation is. Yeah. I get it. I get it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I know who's taking the snaps.
Yeah, but I think from an offensive standpoint, Cincinnati had a very similar offense to San Francisco. Obviously, at the quarterback position, it's a very different situation, but a really good wide receiver, really good running back, tight end, whatever.
Hayden Hurst. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, KC, an unbelievable tight end. The one running back guy, what's his name? God, I can't remember.
Oh, the Pacheco.
Yeah, Pacheco has been playing well. He's been playing well. Can run, can catch out of the backfield, has been great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, like, Tony hurt his ankle. Who knows if he'll be able to play in 2 weeks. Juju Smith-Schuster has been non-existent. I think he might be hurt. Is he hurt again?
I'm looking to see who like led their team tonight.
Montrez Scantling, whatever. Like, okay, great.
Now this.
It's just
Scantling, yeah.
When you get past the quarterback and the tight end.
Schuster did play 1 catch for 7 yards.
Okay. So when you get past the quarterback and the tight end, this KC offense is not like a juggernaut like it used to be. Mahomes does an unbelievable job distributing and putting his players in the best position to make plays. But this is not the undefeated Patriots, like with Tom Brady and Randy Moss.
Yeah.
And that offense. Like, it's not that.
Yeah. Let me be clear in one thing. Darius Slay and James Bradbury are not Eli Apple.
Yeah.
Like that's your number one corner. And I feel like the defensive line will be fine getting pressure.
Absolutely.
And I don't worry a whole lot. If he can't run, like if he's still struggling to run, which we both agree, I think that a high ankle sprain.
Tracy Wolfson brought it up on the broadcast. She said this is a 3 to 6 week injury and it's been 8 days.
Yeah, he might be 80%.
He will be better than he was this week with 2 weeks to get it even better for sure.
Yeah.
But
and Jalen's shoulder will be too.
But he's not going to be 100%.
No, and if he is, he's superhuman.
Oh yeah.
But even so, I still feel like he can be contained in the pocket with the way that the Eagles do the things that they do.
I absolutely think so as well. I like the KC offensive line is not some juggernaut.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun couple of weeks. I'm excited clearly about playing in the Super Bowl, but about the storylines that surround this one.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many things that, there's probably a couple of things we're not even thinking of right now out in terms of storylines, but really excited for the Kelsey brother thing. Really excited for Big Red. It's been a year of like almost a revenge tour for the Eagles. You had the Deuce Staley game. You had the Carson Wentz game. You had the Zach Ertz game. Tonight you had the D'Amico Ryans game. There have been other ones throughout. Oh, the Doug Peterson game.
Yeah.
It's been a revenge tour for the Eagles in a weird way because none of those guys are like bad dudes.
Right. None
of them you're like, oh, I want to, it's just the former Eagles that the Eagles have taken care of.
Yeah.
And the biggest one is in front of them right now.
Yeah.
It's the skeleton in the closet is right there.
I mean, I think this entire season has been a nobody believes in us season. Despite the Eagles being the number 1 seed and going on the run they went on, let's just talk about their players. Jalen Hurts, no one expected this out of this guy in his 3rd year to make this kind of improvement. Yeah. AJ Brown, literally traded by the Titans. And all right, say it was money or whatever, but if you think someone's that good, you're going to pay him. Devontae Smith, we talked about this earlier, coming in as a smaller guy who, again, Heisman Trophy winner, has a ton of talent, but if you would have asked a bunch of people, he's not a number 1 wide receiver. Look at the running backs, Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell. These are not brand name running backs.
Right.
And then as we discussed on the defensive side, there's a couple 1st-round picks in there, but overall, this is a team of a bunch of guys who have been more hungry for it than everyone else. And their coach goes right along with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just again, I think despite being the number 1 seed and all these things, this team has never lost the edge of no one expected us to be here.
Yeah.
No one. Despite Sirianni not being a finalist for Coach of the Year. Despite Hassan Reddick probably not winning Defensive Player of the Year. BG not having Comeback Player of the Year. Jalen's probably not winning the MVP. It's just, I think it's really important to not take a step back, but to think about how this team has what their motivation has been and how Philadelphia it is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it I know we always find a way to make our teams Philadelphia, but when you get these magical things like in 2017 or now, you feel how this team and this city have come together. I'd love to ask Debo if the stadium was as loud as San Francisco. I haven't heard anyone follow up with him on that, but maybe we can get an answer to that one.
We didn't get one from Snitz, so
yeah.
To just piggyback off of that before to wrap it up, I think along with that mentality of no one believes in us type of thing, there's a mentality of they will not reach their standard until they're holding the Lombardi.
Yeah.
It's been all year. They're 9-0 and they're still in the locker room saying they haven't met the standard yet.
Yep.
And tonight in the post game, they were talking to Devontae and he said the job's not done. We're clearly we're gonna be happy about this, but we're not done. This isn't it. And I don't know what reporter followed up, but said, where does that come from? Because we hear you and Jalen saying it all the time. And he just deadpan right back at this reporter was like, Bama. And Regz, there is something to be said for drafting kids that come from winning programs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they drafted Bama, they drafted Georgia, and these kids have come in and they have the mentality. And, you know, the coach has the mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it a million times this year about Jalen Hurts. If your quarterback has the mentality that he's never a finished product, then you're going to win a lot of football games.
Yeah.
You're just going to win a lot of football games. Like we joked about how angry he was that they were taking 2 days off.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny because it's like very Jalen.
Yeah. I mean, I just related to like Jimmy Garoppolo thinks he's the coolest kid who walks into every room. Have you ever heard Jimmy Garoppolo be like, I'm never perfect. I need to get in here and work. Jimmy Garoppolo just walks into a room and thinks I'm the coolest guy who's ever walked into this room. And look at where he is as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, and just compare it to Jalen Hurts, who every day comes in and says, you guys didn't ask me about the defense we're playing.
Yeah.
You asked me about some nonsense that makes no difference to us winning a football game.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard like a Jimmy Garoppolo say that?
Not many quarterbacks do.
That's what I mean. Like that's what you're talking about. That's the difference we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this though, and I feel like Jalen Hurts would be totally cool with me saying it as a way to wrap this up. All that being said, Jalen Hurts is the reason that we got to this point.
1,000%.
He was also the reason early on why this game wasn't a blowout to begin with. He wasn't making good reads on the RPOs.
Not
the
good throws
were not where they needed to be. And I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure he's same thing. He's happy that they're there.
Yeah. It was the first time he looked timid.
Yeah, I definitely think he was still hurting.
Which was weird.
Mm-hmm.
And he got hit pretty hard a couple times.
Yeah.
Which I didn't enjoy.
He was a little skittish because of the lane thing too.
Yeah.
Like you could tell he just wasn't settling. But hopefully 2 weeks for Lane and 2 weeks for him.
Yep.
The shoulder starts to feel a little bit better.
Yep.
You know, you got one more game. You put it all out there. You got one more left, right? No matter what, this is it.
You know these guys will empty the tank.
Yeah.
In that game in Arizona.
Yeah. We're going to the Super Bowl, right?
I was literally just about to say that. I literally was just about to be like, Azzy, we're going to Arizona, man.
Yeah. Yep. We're not playing the Cardinals. We are going to the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh.
Rihanna's going to perform at halftime. We get to hear whopper, 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 whopper like 6 more times because it's a Philly thing.
I can't believe what this year has been for Philly sports. Yeah. Again, we won't talk about how I think we contributed to it because I think it's obviously greatly.
I listen, 2,000 downloads. It's
that's what I mean. In this will be episode 80. So, you know, we don't have to get into our contribution. We're just humble servants, you know, of the Philadelphia sports scene is all we are.
You're welcome, Rob and Nick.
That's right. So
you're welcome.
But it's just our freaking baseball and football teams are in the championships.
Yeah, the soccer team wasn't, and the Sixers are playing out of their minds.
That game, again, we're not talking about Sixers right now, but that game against freaking Denver was wild.
Yeah.
I watched a ton of it, by the way.
Yeah, I watched a bunch too.
But it's like, it's difficult to describe how uncomfortable you get as Philly fans when your team does this well. Because you never come into it expecting it. I think despite the Eagles being the number 1 seed and playing the Giants, and especially this game, you and I both talked about this last week or a couple days ago. This game was a toss-up.
Yeah.
From top to bottom. Literally a toss-up. And the Eagles came out and showed that they can win those matchups so much that it's a blowout. Again, I even think if Brock Purdy is in there, we win by 10 points minimum. 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 10 points minimum.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
This team just continues to, say what you will. Again, the Nick Sirianni stuff, it is what it is, but like him and this quarterback and the leaders on the defensive side have figured out a way to get these guys really believe, like all of these guys are playing for one another.
Yeah.
Lane had a comment about it post game. He's like, yeah, I'm doing all I can, because when I look over and I see Kelsey crying and I see BG with tears in his eyes and I see Fletch like as excited as he is, he's like, that's why I do this. I'm not playing through this stuff like for my own, it's not for my own legacy. He's like, it's because those are the guys I've like taken this ride with.
Yeah.
To now 2 Super Bowls. And like, that's why that guy is doing it, is fighting through unbelievable pain to play for his teammates.
And with a win, potentially one of those guys retires, one's walking in free agency, and you might get one back.
Yeah, but I don't even like that. Makes my heart hurt. I don't even want to think about it.
Today was truly possibly the last time we've ever seen those 3 guys play at the link. Like,
yeah,
and I think that's what Lane's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, this means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This means a lot because these are my guys. Like, the 4 of them were up on the stage together.
Yeah.
After the game, and
did you see that picture with Jalen in the middle of them?
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
It's gonna be like my phone background for a while, I think.
Yeah,
dude, it's a special time to be a Philly sports fan. Like, I don't think like there's no need to do a Phixated tonight. Like, we'll do that down the road for our Super Bowl preview. We'll do I'll have a nice Phixated ready to go leading into the Super Bowl. But I think for tonight, it's really unbelievable. Like, we've been remarkably blessed over the last 3 months to watch our team play in the World Series, and now this magical run of a football season.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to rest your starters in the playoffs, and we've gotten 2 straight weeks of like chilling out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, Regz, that ain't happen in Arizona in 2 weeks.
No, it's not.
So buckle up.
Yeah.
February 12th is going to be a heck of a ride.
You're absolutely right. For us to, again, we went most of our lives without knowing what a championship feels like. It took 20 years.
Yeah, we were 21
for us to get our first championship.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, we've talked about this previously, but like in our lifetime, we've already had our 2 major teams win.
Yeah.
And now that they've been back and to lead us on the, like, again, the run with the Phillies, with how much we're into baseball, and now to just have your team go out there and do what, like, and execute and live up to the expectations that we have for them, not that everyone else has for them. Yeah. To live up to the expectation that us as Philly fans have for them is just, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. Like, I had instant flashbacks to when we won the Super Bowl last time. I was all over the place after that kind of clock went to 0. And it was just, oh my gosh, what a time. What a time.
One more game, man. One more game. One more game. Yep. I told Andrea that to win 2 Super Bowls in a lifetime would be, especially in my adult lifetime.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like, it'd be one thing to win them as a kid.
Yeah. No, it's completely different.
As a teenager.
Yeah.
But in my adult lifetime, to have 2 Super Bowls would truly be one of the most special.
So here's the thing
I could ask for.
Do we have to watch it together? Like, what do I know, like, we have to start thinking about this. Like, is this something that we have to figure out? I don't leave my house. I know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the superstition keeps us where we're at.
And I will tell you this. If they should win, we will reveal the sock live on the broadcast.
Yes.
we will reveal the sock live.
Because you're damn straight. We will be recording a podcast at midnight that night.
Yeah, I'm probably calling off of work. I'll be like 2 weeks into the job, and I'm gonna take off on.
You know
Monday.
the funniest thing that happened? Last time they won the Super Bowl, Cole was sick as a dog, throwing up everywhere. We finally got him to bed, and I'm able to watch the game. Not all of it. I think I missed the entire first quarter. We finally get him to bed, and he's okay. And I get to watch the game, and then they win. I'm running around the house like whisper screaming, like, "Oh my god, they're winning!" So I have 2 little kids upstairs. I don't want to wake up because one of them's sick, and I'm just like. And then the next day, obviously, he's still sick, so he has to stay home from school, and he's maybe 3 or 4 years old at the time. So I call out, and my boss at the time is just like, "Oh yeah, you're calling out the day after the Eagles win the Super Bowl," and I'm like, "No, my kid is actually sick. I'm not doing this because I'm just extremely hungover, or I stayed up till 2 a.m., which I did. All those things were true, but also my kid was very sick. It was just the best timing in the world. That
we had a 2-hour delay the day after.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I certainly was in great shape.
Yeah,
I was good. I was like, I was up till 2 as well. But
it's so funny when I think back to it.
Yeah. Well, give us another one here, Nick and Jalen. Like, let's start a little bit of a dynasty run.
I can't wait. It's been fantastic to recap these things. It's been fantastic to go on this run with everyone who listens and has been following along. Like, it's just been a blast. From the Phillies run till now, it's just been an absolute blast, and I can't wait for one more.
We're not going to say we're the reason, but
I think everyone knows. Everyone knows.
With that being said, if you're watching us on YouTube, click subscribe because you want to be a part of this journey. That's for sure. You want to be part of the reason. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you get your podcast, whether that be Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen. Follow us, rate us. You can follow the platform on Instagram and Twitter at B&B Podcast. You can follow this show specifically on Twitter at the Phixated Pod, which Regz, I'm gonna need the password for again because I had to like re-download Twitter and it like deleted my account.
Okay.
So
we're not tweeting from it at the moment, so you got time.
No, we are certainly not. We'll wait until after the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'm not touching it. Yep. You can follow me if you want my thoughts at the Mike Drop 5 and Regz at Big Regz with a Z, and then follow us on the Phixated fan page. And you can also click the merchandise link for Phixated merch, such as this beautiful white knit cap that you can wear and support the podcast. So otherwise, man, congratulations to our birds. It's a Philly thing. Fly, Eagles, fly. Take care, everybody. We will see you on Thursday, Friday morning. We are not quite sure what it's going to look like over the next 2 weeks. We have a couple of ideas that we're tossing around, but certainly we'll be here to bring content both this Thursday and then the Thursday before the Super Bowl.
That's right.
We'll be breaking some stuff down along the way, but make sure you tune in because we do have a couple of ideas.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we can get for you. But as always, we appreciate you all listening. Thank you so much. We hope you have a wonderful week. We love you. Take care. Be safe. And listen, go Birds, baby.
Shout out to all the new listeners. I know there's a bunch of people who are listening for the first time. We love you all. Follow along. This stuff is nuts. Go Birds!
Oh my God! Deep to right field, way up there and way out of here!
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.